Good morning. We had beautiful colors over there in the last 15 minutes. But there was also a terrible squall here. And it's still early. The sun is just about to rise over there. But I think we're done for color, although we have a little bit more today than we had the last couple of days. We can see a little diversity up here. There's a very strong gusty wind from the east. And I'm looking up here right now because this space between the Mount of Beatitudes and here is the location of the gospel story of today. And it says Jesus comes from the other side and he sends them over in the boat and they come to Ginosar. And Ginosar is clearly here north of Magdala and all the way up really to Tel Kinneret, which I can point out to you. It's that place up there where there's water installations and it's just before the Mount of Beatitudes. So this whole coastline up here, you can see where we have the new Sea of Galilee. No, that's the Sea of Galilee Hotel there, and just beyond it, you have the Jesus Boat Museum in the Kibbutz Ginosar. So the place is still called Ginosar. And this is where Jesus comes with his boat today and we have the account of the healing of the sick. But we also have finished up the letter to the Hebrews, and now we start over from Genesis chapter 1, the very beginning of the scriptures. And this is an extraordinary, powerful, beautiful, inspiring, world-defining worldview. And in this big, wild, hard world in which we live, there's a personal creating God who created wind and moon and sun, the big light to rule the day. That's the text we have today. And the smaller light to rule the night. And actually that should be up there somewhere behind the clouds. It's probably not set yet because we are in a full moon. And I was tempted yesterday, look at all these birds. They're going to be created tomorrow, okay? In the reading tomorrow. Look at all these birds and the white ones. What a beautiful treat for us. Normally they're out here earlier because this type of flight takes place before the sun comes up. And the cormorants are gathering for their big fishing, gobbling up exercise that they do this time of the year. Here in January February on the Sea of Galilee. And the fishermen aren't too happy because they eat a lot of fish. A lot of the little tiny young fish that are coming. But that's part of the cycle of nature. And there we have some visitor having her moment of recollection in the morning. So this whole story of creation is so powerful. In a world that had so many different views of reality, so many different experiences of reality. And this is the view that those who believe in God have. That our world, with all its trees and birds and planets and stars and galaxies, still many to be discovered, and the human being has now been able to get and even land there and planning a new mission. The first step of humanity beyond our planet Earth. And in all of this world, that there is a personal creator, there is warmth, there is love, that it was made purposefully, and that we are placed here to benefiting from this great gift of life, of love, of such incredible richness of creatures. Creatures means that they were created. That's why we use the word creature. And science works so hard, so intentionally, so systematically to know more and more and discover more and more of the amazing level of intelligence, connections, causes, consequences, the nature of things, from the tiniest subatomic particle to the largest solar systems and galaxies. To live in a world that wasn't created by evil, but it was created by love. In the beginning was love. In the beginning was order. In the beginning was somebody who would love me. As lonely as I would feel in a world that many times is harsh and difficult to survive. You think of the people in those caves up there, living long before there were cities, and taking advantage of those caves. This huge cave up on the top of Mount Arbel. That's a very big cave. I think it's at least as high as Ducanaltum. I'm not sure. I haven't done the comparative measurements. Might be an interesting little question. And to think that this was created with such genius, these plants, that all kinds of seed-bearing plants, and the amazing intelligence within them, more than a computer chip, that produces their own kind, generation after generation. And this delight over creation has become the song of the entire scriptures. And it's been reread generation after generation and recorded in different editions, if you will, of the whole account. Generation after generation. I'm just looking for the text for you here, and I didn't have the other little hand phone I have here. Didn't have the connection. I'm trying to get the connection to be able to read it. But the psalm we have today is also a song of creation. And there are so many of them. We think the Canticle of Daniel, itemizing such a list of creatures. The cloud system that distributes water around our planet. The storms. The crystals that make up sand and stones and rocks. Gosh, the Wi-Fi isn't coming in for me here. I put a connection directly to the phone that's transmitting and it's not giving me anything. All the little challenges in a day. And now it says Safari can't do it. Oh, there, I got it. In the beginning, when God created the heavens and the earth was a formless wasteland, and darkness covered the abyss. Darkness. While a mighty wind swept over the waters, and we have a good wind today over the waters. God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. Then God said, "Let there be a dome over the middle of the waters." And the dome he called sky. Evening came and morning came the second day. Then God said, "Let the water under the sky be gathered into a single basin." Amazing, isn't it? The imagery. And so it happened. And the dry land appeared, and God called the dry land the earth. And the basin of the water he called the sea. The earth bring forth vegetation, eucalyptus trees and palm trees and fruit trees and reeds and grass. And every kind of plant that bears seed, even what we call weeds. And that there be lights in the dome of the sky to separate day and night. To separate light and darkness. And so we have Psalm 104. May the Lord be glad in his works. Bless the Lord, O my soul. O Lord my God, you are great indeed. You are clothed with majesty and glory, robed in light as with a cloak. May the Lord be glad in his works. You send forth springs into the watercourses. And the wind among the mountains. Beside them the birds of heaven dwell, for among the branches they send forth their song. May the Lord be glad in his work, because he saw it was very good. It was good. It was good. And then the human experience of suffering and sickness. And that word that was in the beginning became flesh and was here on the Sea of Galilee and came into Gennesaret right beside us. Eventually the word for God will be Emmanuel. El is God, Emmanuel with us, God with us. That's our faith. It's the perspective of believers, absolutely conscious of all those who have difficulty in seeing that perspective. because of education, because of personal heritage of ideas, of ideologies. For generations now, already we can say, an atheistic attitude that God doesn't exist, that He didn't create the world, that it just happened. And our worldview is that God did create the world, that He does love us. And because of that, made in His image and likeness, which will be a theme for tomorrow, then that we can engage and encounter the others, and especially the needy and those, each one bearing His image and likeness. And we can live together. We also welcome the atheist and the agnostic, and we dialogue, and their questions are helpful for us. And that tension of living together keeps us on our toes, keeps us alert, keeps us sensitive, helps us to realize the gift of faith, the challenge of faith. And that actually is very challenging to believe, because then we have responsibility. People a lot more to say about